Well, good morning, everybody, or afternoon, as the case may be. Well, the weather has finally changed for us, and we're feeling like fall. It's been a little cool overnight, which has been really nice. Technically, fall doesn't start until next week. And why do I start talking about the weather? Well, because this is Falls Prevention Awareness Month, and we do it in September, which celebrates the first of fall, which technically isn't until next Sunday, but you get the idea. In any event, we want to welcome you to one of our new seminars this year, which is all about how yoga can help us improve our strength and our balance in order to prevent falls. Next slide, please. First of all, my name is Erin Olson. A couple of years ago, I founded the Falls Prevention Coalition of Idaho, and it's now a program under the Idaho Commission on Aging, for which I am a program specialist. I also manage the Disease Prevention and Health Promotion Program for ICOA. ICOA, or ICOA, is funded by the Administration for Community Living, also known as ACL, and the National Council on Aging, or NCOA. That's all of the acronyms I'll try to throw at you for this particular seminar, just knowing that we are funded through our federal agencies and the Older Americans Act. And we are very proud and pleased to be able to share information with you today that will help you learn why falls are important to understand, and more importantly, how you can prevent them. Next slide, please. As usual, we have a few seminar logistics that we have to get through. I'll make them as quick as possible so we can get to what we're really here to all learn about and do today. So when you have a question, and we hope you do have questions, please use the questions panel. It's accessible from the bottom center of your toolbar, roughly. You can type in your question. And then at the end of our time together today, we will pose those questions and get you hopefully all of the answers that you're waiting for. Next slide, please. If you can find the resources button on your Zoom toolbar, and normally it's in the bottom right corner, you can access the two resources that we have available for today. If you click on the resources button, a panel should display, and there's a documents portion of that panel. In there is, number one, a copy of the slides, because everybody always wants to know if they can have a copy of the slides, and yes, you can. And they're available right from here. They will also be available in the lobby, which is where when you logged on, you came into the lobby. They will be available there indefinitely as well. The second handout that we have is actually a list of the different yoga poses that we're going to be doing. So you don't have to try to remember those as you work through your flow. Instead, you can just be mindful about going through the poses and not worry about memorizing them. If neither of those options work for you, then we will have all of these posted on our website, which is www.aging.idaho.gov/falls. That's plural, FALLS. So you can get to them a bunch of different ways, whichever way works. And if not, just please let me know, and I will help you find those resources after we are done here today. Next slide, please. We are putting out nothing but positive mental vibes today. That's just kind of our theme. But sometimes stuff just happens when it comes to technology that's beyond our control. So if any of us have any difficulties, here's our plan. If you are disconnected, or if you have problems with kind of stuttering sound, try logging out and logging back in again. Usually that works very well to resolve whatever it was. If we lose our expert, she will log back in as soon as possible and continue with her discussion or her demonstration, depending on where she was. If one of us loses power, then hopefully one of the other ones of us who are here will continue on while we wait for power to come back on, or make some other arrangements. Fortunately, myself and Marcy, our presenter, and Natalie, our Zombie, are all in different places. So if there's something like a power loss, it should not impact all three of us at once. But if something dramatic does happen and all of us are kicked out or not able to continue, we will notify you when we will reschedule the seminar for your convenience. So with that, let's keep those positive vibes out there and let's go to our next slide. We are recording the seminar, so you will have access to it after our presentation now is over. You will receive a link via Zoom or from Zoom when it's available. It will be pretty much instantaneous or within a few minutes of when we finish. That recording will be available through the Zoom interface that you're now in, again, indefinitely. We will also post that recording to our YouTube website. That will take us a few days to get that edited and uploaded and all of those kinds of things. That can be found at www.youtube.com. And then the important part is /Idaho COA. That's Idaho spelled out, then the letters COA. COA stands for Commission on Aging. But again, our tag is Idaho COA, and that actually can work on all of your social media platforms if you would like to find us and possibly favorite or like or follow us. Next slide, please. Today, we are focusing our minds on two things. One is understanding falls and why they happen. And the second, of course, is practicing a bit of yoga so we can stay strong and flexible and keep our balance and shape so that we can prevent falls. Primarily by being physically active to the best of our ability, that is one of the best things we can do, not only to prevent falls, but to just keep us in good general overall physical and mental health. Next slide, please. I know we're all eager to get to the yoga, but before we do, we kind of need to lay the groundwork for why preventing falls is important. If we don't know that, then we don't know why yoga is an important part of our strategies to prevent falls. So let's go to the next slide and get started. Now, I would like to ask you a question about how would you define a fall? That's kind of a rhetorical question. We all have our own ideas on what a fall is. We figure we'd know one when we'd see one, right? Well, maybe, maybe not. And that's because some falls are obvious, but not all are. So some we actually say, oh, well, that person tripped or they slipped, but maybe we don't consider it a fall. So here's a definition that we all can work with, so we're all thinking of falls in the same way, and that is to unintentionally move downward, typically rapidly and freely without control, like a lot of what they call windmilling with arms or reaching out to brace our fall, from a higher to a lower level. So simply put, it's anytime we move unexpectedly, usually from standing to something other than standing up like we were before. Now, that last part is where people try to say, well, I didn't really fall. They say they didn't hit the floor, or it didn't end up on their hands and knees, but the floor is not a requirement. That's not part of our definition. The requirement is just from a higher to a lower position. And that's important because we can fall onto a chair. If we're standing up and we trip or slip, we can fall onto a chair or a couch. We can certainly fall onto the floor. We can fall into a wall. And I think probably all of us have done this. Maybe you trip over that favorite pet of yours that likes to sit at your feet. So you go to take a step and then you find yourself reaching out and catching yourself on the wall. We still are moving from a higher to a lower plane, not necessarily to the floor, and we're not in control and we don't plan to do it. So all of those things make up falls. So hopefully we can learn some of these things and how to prevent them. So a trip or a slip often initiates a fall, but a fall could be part of a trip or slip, or it could be just a fall on its own. So we're going to move on next to learn what some of the causes of these falls are, what can impact our ability to not fall, and then get into some yoga. So let's do our next slide, please. I think we're all empathetic when we hear about a person has fallen, and it's especially important if we hear that they were older or if they had an injury, maybe they even ended up at the emergency room or the hospital. Those are not unreasonable concerns, and they are absolutely why we want to prevent falls from happening. So here's just a few reasons why we might want to care about falls. Falls are the #1 cause of accidental injury and death in people over age 65. And those of you who know me or who have been in some of our earlier seminars, yes, I am repeating the same statistics over and over again because I really want you all to know them and to remember them. What we also know is that nationally, 1 in 4 older adults falls each year, but in Idaho, it's 1 in 3. So we have a higher falls rate than the rest of the nation. So that's an 8% higher rate for Idahoans, just something to be aware of, probably because of the active lifestyles we live. But 1 out of 5 falls also causes a significant injury, and this includes TBI, or traumatic brain injury. Falls are the #1 cause of traumatic brain injury across all ages, not in older adults. And that, of course, is something we definitely want to be mindful about. Here's another one, though, that I kind of like, kind of don't like, but it's significant, is that in Idaho, for somebody that falls and has an injury that requires medical attention, the average cost is over $38,000. And I can attest to that because I fell and broke my arm a little over a year and a week ago. And I will just tell you that that 38,000 plus cost is absolutely accurate for Idaho. Now, we're talking about described yoga today, and that brings in, the idea that as people age, they can lose hearing, they can lose vision. Some people have hearing and vision loss earlier in life, but just statistically speaking, a person with any disability, and that includes vision and hearing loss, is more than twice as likely to fall. Now, people say, well, that makes sense. If people have vision loss, if they can't see well, then they trip and fall over things. But it's not just vision loss. It's also hearing and other types of disabilities that people have that increase that risk. So another kind of staggering statistic is that for older adults, after a year, if people were hospitalized because of an injury, 45% were readmitted to some type of facility or institution. And very unfortunately, 33%, 1 in 3 of those people died. And that's earlier than they should have. So what we know is falls are important and they do impact us. So let's go to our next slide. Just to make all of those statistics a little more meaningful or sometimes easier, there's a diagram, and the diagram shows the impact of falls or the breakdown when it comes to the frequency. Every second, an older adult in the United States falls. This equates to the shocking numbers: 36 million falls, 8 million injuries, 3 million emergency room or emergency department visits, 950,000 hospitalizations, and that number was updated. Last time they did it, it was 800,000. Now it's 950,000 hospitalizations and 32,000 deaths, and that is each year. So while falls are financially costly, that 38,000 plus that we talked about, the human cost is even more troublesome, I think. They impact individuals, families, caregivers, communities, our state, because many of the costs of falls are financial and they use Medicaid and Medicare funds. But again, just the human cost is really, really important. We want to prevent all of these things from happening to those we know and to ourselves. Next slide, please. So in order to prevent falls, we need to know what causes them to begin with. Many of us like to blame those external things for our falls. Unfortunately, that is often true. It is something like, somebody left something on the floor, or they didn't wipe up a spill, or something like that. But with that said, it's actually a combination of factors that result in the fall. Falls are multifactorial. In other words, it's not one thing, it's a combination of things. It's the person plus the situation in any variety of combinations. It can be what the person does, how they do it, how their body is behaving or not behaving, or reacting or not reacting. And then, of course, those environmental factors like weather and loose handrails or slippery surfaces. There are physical factors that come with aging that increase a person's risk of falling. That's kind of what people say, it just happens when we age. What I like to say is, if we do things earlier rather than later, we can often prevent some of those things from happening. But still, as we age, we obviously do have a few issues. There are things, though, and the good news is that we can do things to intervene, like being physically active, doing yoga, that will help reduce our risk of falls. And today, that's exactly what we're going to do through yoga. Next slide, please. So to simplify the risk factors for falls and what we can do to prevent them, the FPCID, or the Falls Prevention Coalition of Idaho, has identified 4 pillars of falls prevention. They include nutritional health, which also includes hydration, physical health, which is a big pillar, a lot of things come under that, emotional health, and environmental safety. And I think if we all just think about those very quickly, they all make sense to us. I will do a quick little part on the emotional health pillar, and then, of course, the rest of the time today we're going to spend on that physical health pillar. So next slide, please. And let's talk about the first pillar that we'll talk about today, which is emotional health, also sometimes called mental health, behavioral health. We're referring to them all as the same thing. One of the most important things about part of this pillar that's specific to falls is something known as the fall cycle and fear of falling. After a person falls, especially if they have an injury, they are, just much more aware that they're likely to fall again. If this impacts them significantly, they might start changing the way they do things in life. For example, they might stop bathing as often because we know bathrooms are dangerous. They're slippery, it's wet. If they have to step in and out of a tub, something like that. They might also stop, or at least slow down, on doing cooking and laundry and house cleaning. They often reduce or limit these things. Sometimes they stop doing them altogether, especially if they live alone. And that's where, of course, it becomes even more of a problem. Because if somebody's living alone, nobody else is kind of observing these changes, drawing their attention to it. And of course, nobody else is helping them to do the things that they are no longer doing for themselves. So in addition to not doing some of these things, I should say, they might also limit their social engagements. They don't want to go out into places where they don't know what the environment's going to be like or how many people will be there. Will it be too dark so they can't see? Things like that. Once they fall, though, they have a fear of falling again, which statistically is absolutely accurate, because once a person falls, they're likely to fall again within the same year. It doubles their chance of that, actually. Then they become less active, like we said. That means that just by not being as physically active, they're naturally going to lose their muscle strength and their ability to balance or recover if they trip or slip. That, of course, leads to an increased risk of falling. And guess what? Then they do fall again, and we get caught in this cycle that really is more like a downward spiral, if you will. If we allow this to happen, we find that all of a person's emotional health declines. They become isolated, they get depressed, they have a diminished quality of life, they get that functional or physical decline that we were talking about, they have less independence, there's a much higher likelihood that they will be admitted to some type of living facility or skilled nursing facility. And unfortunately, an increase in rates of early death. And the averages, and I'm not quite sure how they calculate this, but they say that people that go into the spiral end up dying at least 2 years earlier than they should have. And it was all precipitated or caused by that initial fall. So the best way to prevent all of this is to prevent that first fall. And if a person does fall, to make sure that they get the support they need through both physical and emotional rehabilitation so that they don't ever get into this fall cycle. Hopefully all of that makes sense for everybody. Let's go to our next slide. So now as we move into our yoga section, the takeaway is that prevention is the best intervention. I mean, it's that simple. Let's go to our next slide, please. So now onto our main topic of the day that you all have been waiting for. Next slide. I would like to introduce you all to Marcy Chapman. Marcy earned her credentials in yoga several years ago. She is also a rehab teacher with the Idaho Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired here in Boise. As a blind person herself, Marcy has learned to teach yoga using description, not just follow me and watch what I do, but describing all of the moves so that people who are likewise visually impaired or not can follow along more easily. I think personally that this is great, and that descriptive teaching is just the way it should always be done, because people learn visually, but they also learn audibly. So even if you don't have visual impairment, being able to hear something as when you watch it makes it easier to learn and to follow along. And when I'm in some of those yoga poses, I may not be in a position to be looking at an instructor very easily. So that's just my opinion. So with that, I am proud to introduce you to my friend and our yoga expert for the day, Marcy Chapman. Do you need to unmute yourself, Marcy? I'm going to check in with our Zoom bee. Natalie, is Marcy there?
I am not seeing her. Let me try something.
Please stand by while we find out what happened to our expert.
Can
you hear me?
Move her to the webinar. Yep.
Okay, so we can hear me now?
We can hear you. Did you want to go over those slides first, Marcy?
Yep,
yes.
That's what I was gonna do. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, well, I am so sorry that yeah, I was unmuted there. Okay. So what I had said when I thought I was unmuted was thank you, Erin, and it is a pleasure to be here. And Erin wanted me to go over how yoga is healthy for everyone, like what yoga can do for you. Yoga can improve your balance and flexibility. It can also increase your muscle strength and tone. It can also improve your joints and range of motion. It also doing yoga can also help relieve tension in your muscles, also in your neck. It can relieve tension, headaches, and migraines. It can also relieve pain in your back and in your hips, and can also relieve arthritis symptoms. Doing yoga can also improve your digestion. It helps maintain a balanced metabolism. It can also lower your blood pressure and decrease your stress. Doing yoga can also help you get a better night's sleep. It can also help manage your anxiety and depression. And it can improve your energy and vitality. And doing yoga can also help you just feel more relaxed and grounded and present and give you an overall feeling of well-being. Now, there are some common misconceptions about yoga. Some of those is a person may feel like they're not a yoga person, so they don't feel like they should do yoga. Or they may think that a yogi only eats very healthy food all the time and is also very thin and fit. And that we're all very flexible. Another common misconception is that we're always calm and centered. And also that we value our mindfulness and meditation and personal growth over material things. Another common misconception is that yogis don't believe in any other type of exercise like aerobics or using weights. And my favorite is, well, I can't be a yogi because I'm not going to fit into those yoga pants. Well, obviously I said those are common misconceptions. And so anybody can do yoga. You can wear anything that feels comfortable. You can have any type of athletic build. Anybody can do yoga. And with that, I would like to move into our yoga practice this day. So if everyone would like to find an easy seated position, you may sit. If you would like, you can start sitting in a chair, or you can sit on the ground in an easy seated position, either with your legs crossed or slightly bent out in front of you. And I always like to start my classes getting yourself centered and present and grounded. So I invite you to close your eyes, or you can take a soft gaze in front of you, or let your eyes kind of fall inward. You may rest your hands in your lap if you would like. And then just take some easy breaths in through your nose and back out. On your exhale, you can even exhale out through your mouth like a big sigh. This may help relieve any extra tension that you may be feeling. You can even think of it as you're exhaling, you're releasing that tension out of your body. And you can set an intention for your practice this day if you would like. It could be feeling grounded, or that you would like to feel present. But when you're ready, if your eyes were closed, you may open them now, blinking your eyes open. And then let's start with your hands down at your sides. And on an inhale, let's have everyone bring your arms out to the side and up over your head with your fingertips pointing up toward the ceiling. And then as you exhale, let your arms float out to the side and down. Now just rest one hand on the floor or down at your side. And on an inhale, bring your other arm out to the side and up over your head with your fingertips pointing up toward the ceiling. And then as you exhale, let's lean over to one side. And then you can pause in this stretch, taking a breath in and out. Then inhale, you can lower that arm back out to the side and down, letting your back sit up nice and tall. And let's go to the other side. On an inhale, let's bring our other arm out to the side and up over your head. And then as you exhale, let's lean over to the other side. Pausing here to take a breath in and out. Breathing in yoga is very important too. Inhale, lowering that arm back out to the side and down. On your next inhale, let's bring both arms out to either side of you. Fingertips pointing in opposite directions, broadening across the chest. This is called a seated cat-cow. So on an inhale, draw your belly button in towards your spine, bringing your chest forward, maybe lifting your chin up just a little. And then as you exhale, relax your shoulders, bring your right arm across your body to rest on your left shoulder, and bring your left arm across your body to rest on your right shoulder, giving yourself a nice big hug. And then round out your back, leaning your back toward the wall behind you, and lower your chin down towards your chest. One more time. Breathe in, open your arms out wide, fingertips in opposite directions, and exhale, round out your back. Give yourself a nice big hug. Alternate hand to alternate shoulder, and lower your chin down towards your chest. Inhale, releasing your arms down to your sides, letting your back get nice and tall. Let's come, if you're on a chair, let's come onto the floor now, onto your hands and knees. With your knees underneath your hips and your wrists underneath your shoulders. And we're gonna breathe into our regular cat/cow. You want to spread your fingers wide so you have a nice, firm, balanced base and a supportive base. On an inhale, relax your tummy muscles down, bringing your heart forward, meaning your chest is facing the wall in front of you. Maybe lifting your chin up just a little, maybe energetically lifting your hips up toward the ceiling, and your back makes the shape of a cow, hence the name. And then on an exhale, let's go the opposite way. Begin to bring your belly button up and in towards your spine as you round out your back, tucking your tailbone under, lowering your chin down toward your chest. And then inhale to your beginning cow position, relaxing your tummy muscles down. Exhale into cat, drawing your belly button up and in towards your spine, round out your back, and tuck your chin down towards your chest. Inhale into that cow position, and relax back to hands and knees. Let's move into our downward facing dog, tucking your toes under where your hands and your knees and your toes are all grounding into the earth. On an inhale, begin to lift your knees up off of the ground as you ground your hands and feet into the earth. Coming into our downward facing dog, you can let your head hang heavy between your arms. In this downward facing dog, you may also pedal out your feet if you would like, lowering one foot and then the other. And then on your next inhale, little by little, walk your feet in toward your hands. You might have to bring your hands up onto your fingertips as we come together into a forward fold, where our body is folded in half. And my belly is resting on my thighs, my arms are hanging heavy down in front of me. Inhale, come up halfway to a half forward fold. Your hands are resting on your shins or knees. Your Heart is facing forward, the wall in front of you. Exhale, forward fold, folding your body in half. Bend your knees a lot, sinking your hips down. Ground your feet into the earth as you use your legs to come all the way up to standing. And for a moment here, I will turn and face the long end of my mat to face the camera. On an inhale, let's bring our arms out to the side and up over our heads into extended mountain pose. Our arms are parallel with our ears. Shoulders are relaxed down away from our ears and fingertips are pointing up toward the ceiling. Breathe in and exhale. We're going to lean our body to the right. Inhale back to center, fingertips pointing up toward the ceiling. And we're going to exhale to the left, coming into our crescent pose on the left. Inhale back to center. On an exhale, you're going to release your arms out to the side and down as you hinge forward from the waist, coming down into a forward fold. Arms hanging heavy, head hanging heavy. Breathe in, come up halfway, resting your hands on your shins. Exhale, forward fold, folding your body in half. Bend your knees a lot, sinking your hips down. Ground your feet into the earth as you use your legs to come all the way up to standing. That's very important, keeping your feet supported on the ground. Let's do that again. Inhale, bringing your arms out to the side and up over your head. Fingertips pointing up toward the ceiling. And on an exhale, we're going to lean to the right, doing a crescent pose on the right. Inhale back to center, fingertips pointing up toward the ceiling, and let's exhale to the left. Inhale to center, fingertips pointing up toward the ceiling. Let's bring our hands together above our head. You can even look up at your hands if you would like, an upward salute. And then exhale, lower both your hands to your heart as you bend your knees, sinking your hips down into a chair pose. Taking a nice deep breath in here and exhale out. Holding our chair pose. If you're needing more of a challenge today, you can lift your heels up off the floor, balancing on your toes, or you can keep both heels on the ground. Inhale, straighten your legs, straighten your arms up above your body as you release your arms out to the side and down as you hinge forward from the waist, coming down into a forward fold. Inhale, come up halfway, resting your hands on your shins, bringing your heart forward. Exhale, forward fold. Bend your knees a lot, sinking your hips down. Ground your feet into the earth as you use your legs to come all the way back up to standing. And let's go through that again. Breathe in, arms come out to the side and up over your head. Fingertips pointing up toward the ceiling. And let's exhale to the right. Inhale back to center. And let's exhale to the left. Inhale back to center. Bring your hands together above your head. You may look up at your hands if you would like. Exhale, lower your hands to your heart. Bend your knees, sinking your hips down into our chair pose. You can either keep your hands together at your heart, or if for better balance, if you want to extend your arms out in front of you, palms facing up, like you're holding a platter in front of you. And I always like to say, think about your favorite food that you're holding out in front of you. It could be strawberries. It could be your favorite dessert. Whatever sounds good to you. Breathe that in, drinking that scent in as you hold your chair pose. Inhale, straighten your arms, bring your arms forward and up. Fingertips pointing up toward the ceiling. Exhale, release your arms out to the side and down as you hinge forward from the waist, coming down into a forward fold. Breathe in, come up halfway, resting your hands on your shins. And exhale, forward fold. I'm going to take a second and turn my body to face the short end of the mat. Bring your hands to the floor. Maybe walk your hands forward just a little bit more. Take your right foot and step back. Take a big step back behind you. And then take your left foot and bring it to your right, coming into a plank pose. You always have the option of lowering your knees to the floor, coming into a knee plank. And then from here, rest the tops of your feet on the floor. Begin to bend your elbows as you lower your upper body down toward the floor. So now, from your chest down, you should have everything down on the floor, belly touching the floor. Ground your hands into the earth as you squeeze your elbows into your sides and press your upper body up into cobra. You can either come into a baby cobra, just lifting your chest up just a little, or you can fully extend your arms coming into full cobra. Exhale, bend your elbows, lowering your belly back down to the floor. Press up to hands and knees. Tuck your toes under. Ground your hands and toes into the earth as you lift your hips up toward the ceiling, coming into our downward facing dog. Begin to walk your feet in toward the center of your body. Coming into our forward fold. Breathe in, come up halfway, resting your hands on your shins. Exhale, forward fold. Bend your knees a lot, sinking your hips down. Ground your feet to the earth as you use your legs to come all the way up to standing. Breathe in, arms come out to the side and up over your head. We're going to exhale to the right. Inhale to center and exhale to the left. Inhale to center, bring your hands together above your head. Exhale, lower your hands to your heart. Bend your knees, sinking your hips down into a chair pose. Extend your arms out in front of you like you're holding a platter of food. Exhale, we're going to move into a forward fold from here. So hinge forward at the waist, lowering your arms down, lowering your head. Place your hands on the floor, bending your knees a lot. Step back with your right foot. Step back with your left foot. There we go. Coming into our plank pose. Again, you always have the option of lowering your knees to the floor, coming into a knee plank. Then rest the tops of your toes on the floor as you begin to bend your elbows, lowering your upper body down to the floor. Squeeze your elbows into your sides. Spread your fingers wide, and then gently press your hands into the earth as you lift your upper body into cobra. Again, you can either do a baby cobra, just lifting your chest up with arms slightly bent, or you can fully extend your arms coming into full cobra. Exhale, bend your elbows, lowering your body back down to the floor. Ground your hands into the earth as you press up to hands and knees. Tuck your toes under, grounding your hands and toes into the earth. Begin to lift your knees off the floor as you lift your hips up toward the ceiling into downward facing dog. Very good. Shift your weight to the left side of your body and extend your right leg back behind you. And then on an inhale, let's take a big step forward with your right foot. We're going to be moving into our warrior one pose. Currently, my hands are down on the floor. My back foot is out at a 45-degree angle. My belly is resting on my front right thigh. Just getting stable here. And then on an inhale, let's bring our arms forward and up, coming to stand in our warrior one. My arms are out at like a V above my head, and my pinky fingers are rotated in toward the center of my body. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. On your next exhale, bring your hands together at your heart and hinge forward from the waist, lowering your upper body down towards your front right thigh, coming into humble warrior. Inhale, unhinge your body, extending your arms out above your head again, coming back to warrior one. From here, we're going to move into our warrior three pose. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can lift your back heel up off the floor, shifting your weight forward. And you can either keep your back foot, your back toes on the floor as you extend your arms forward in front of you. Or if you're near a chair or a couch or a wall, you can use the wall as a balance to kick off your back foot, coming to balance into warrior three on your right leg. And it's totally okay to use the wall for balance, because I am. Or if you need to bring your left foot to the floor for better balance. Very nice. Okay, begin to tap your left foot to the floor. We're going to move into our tree pose, so balancing on our right leg. I currently have my left knee bent with my toes resting on the floor. My arms are still up like a V. Now you can either turn your left knee out to the left, resting your left heel on your right ankle. This is a tree pose. Or if you would like more of a challenge, you can begin to slide your left heel up off the floor, resting it on the shin of your right leg, coming into tree pose on the right. It's totally fine to tap your left foot to the floor. This is how we find our balance. Very good. And when that's complete, you can sit back to your warrior one, stepping your left foot back. Exhale, hinge forward from the waist, lowering both hands to the floor on the inside of your right foot. Take a big step back with your right foot. Lower your knees to the floor. Bring the tops of your feet to the floor as you bend your elbows, lowering your upper body down to rest on the floor. We're going to be moving into our cobra pose again. Squeeze your elbows into your sides as you press up into cobra. Exhale, lower down. Press up to hands and knees. Tuck your toes under. Lift your hips up to downward facing dog. Shift your weight to your right as you extend your left leg behind you. Then on an inhale, take a big step forward with your left foot. So now your left foot's forward, your right leg is back. My right foot is out at a 45-degree angle. And when you feel balanced, go ahead and bring your body forward and up, coming to stand in your warrior one on the left. On an exhale, bring your hands together at your heart and hinge forward from the waist, lowering your upper body down toward your front left leg, coming into humble warrior. Breathe in, bring your arms forward and up, coming into warrior one on the left. And then begin to tap your left foot forward, moving into your warrior three. Again, you always have the option of leaving your back toes on the floor for your warrior three, or you can lift your left foot up off the, your right foot off the floor, coming to balance on your left leg. I'm leaving my right toes on the floor for today. Now begin to bring your right foot forward as we move into our tree pose on the left. So in your tree pose on the left, go ahead and bend your right knee, bringing your right knee pointing to the right. You can start out by resting your right heel on the ankle of your left leg. And if this feels comfortable for you, you may stay here, or if you would like, you can begin to slide your right foot up the calf of your left leg to balance on your left leg in tree pose on the left. And it's okay to tap your foot down to find your balance. That's how we do things. That's our ebb and flow. And when that feels complete, take a big step back with your left foot, coming back to our warrior one on the left. Exhale, lower your hands to the floor. Take a big step back with your left foot. Lower your knees to the floor. Rest the tops of your feet on the floor as you bend your elbows, lowering down into preparation for our cobra pose. Squeeze your elbows in towards your sides as you ground your hands into the earth, pressing up into cobra. Exhale, lower down. Press up to hands and knees. Now from here, we're going to move into our cool down and Shavasana. So you have the option of either coming to an easy seated position, either sitting with your legs slightly bent, legs extend out in front of you, or with your knees crisscrossed in front of you. Or if you would like to come down onto your back, resting in Shavasana onto your back, letting all the muscles in your body from the top of your head down to your toes, letting your body begin to relax. Taking nice deep breaths in through your nose and back out. And I invite you, if you would like, to close your eyes. Feeling the air as it comes in through your nose and back out. Letting your body begin to relax. Moving into your relaxation pose. Allow this relaxation to happen naturally. Just relax and observe. Now create a picture in your mind of the color red. You may imagine red objects, a red landscape, or maybe even the solid color red. Imagine all the different tones of red. Roses, strawberries, cherries. Could even be the red tones of a sunset. Enjoy the color red. Now imagine the color you're imagining to change to orange. Picture the color orange. All the infinite shades of orange. Flowers, pumpkins, parrots, maybe even a burning fire. Fill your entire visual field with the color orange. Enjoy the color orange. Now visualize the color yellow. See in your imagination all the different shades of yellow. Allow yellow to fill your vision. It could be lemons or flowers, bananas or fall leaves. Imagine all the endless tones of the color yellow. Imagine yourself with the calming colors of yellow. Immerse yourself and enjoy the color yellow. Now allow your imagination to see the color green. Fill your imagination with the color green. Endless shades and tones of green. Plants, grass, leaves on trees. Imagine being surrounded by beautiful green. All shades of green from the lightest to the darkest. Enjoy the color. Now see in your mind the color blue. Surround yourself with beautiful blue. All underneath shades of blue. All the different shades of bodies of water to the different shades of bright blue sky. Imagine blue filling your vision. Enjoy the color blue. Now imagine the color in your imagination to turn to violet. Focus on the multitudes of purple around you. Lavender, lilac, eggplant, and a sunrise. Immerse yourself in the color violet. Joy violet. Now allow your attention to return to your breathing. Noticing the air as it comes in through your nose and back out. Noticing the air, how it touches your skin. Noticing the weight of the floor underneath you. You may want to wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes as you wake your body up, bringing you back to this present moment. If you're laying on your back, you roll onto one side, gently lifting yourself up. So we meet together with easy seated position. Resting your hands down at your sides. On an inhale, all together. Let's bring our arms out to the side and over your head as you fill your lungs full of air. And then as you exhale, lowering your arms out to the side and down. Let's do that one more time. Breathing in, bringing your arms out to the side and over your head. This time, bring your hands together above your head. And then as you exhale, bring your hands to your heart. Thank you, everybody, so very much for sharing your yoga practice with me today. May the rest of your weekend and all next week be filled with much hope and peace and love. Namaste.
Namaste, Marcy. Thank you so much for sharing your yoga flow and yoga practice with us today. For everybody, you know, that's obviously an abbreviated version of what somebody might do in a flow. But first, I know that Marcy did the whole warrior sequence because I love the warrior sequence. It makes me feel strong when I'm in that pose. But you know, I think we also want to remind everybody that you don't start being able to do all of the things that Marcy can do so well. Yoga takes practice and you improve, but that's why we do it, because as we continue to do it, our balance gets better, our strength gets better, our flexibility gets better, and there's always something more to work towards. And I did want to remind everybody here today that many of our senior centers, the YMCAs, even gyms offer seated yoga. So if you feel like you're you know, a little limited in your physical abilities right now, a chair yoga or seated yoga might be a class that you can do as well. So with that, we are getting close to being out of time. So I had just a couple more things that I wanted to mention before we leave. One is that we do have a Recognize and Remove Trip Hazards at Home seminar coming up Wednesday, September 25th at 11 a.m. Mountain Day. 11 a.m. Mountain. I can't speak. Mountain time. And that will just go into some of the things you can do to remove those environmental hazards that we were talking about. Once you get your physical self in shape, then you got to get your environment as well. The takeaway for today, of course, is that only you can integrate the things we've talked about today to reduce your risk of falling. And awareness is the start, and prevention, as we've said, is the solution. So let's go to our next slide, please. We don't have any time for a Q&A, but if you have some questions, feel free to submit those even in your survey. There is a space at the end where you can add comments, or to send them into the contact information that you received when you registered. And I would like to remind everybody that your local area agency on aging, or AAA, can provide you with all kinds of information, not only on health promotion programs and workshops, but also other services like nutrition that people may need. They are your resource for anything that you need as an aging adult. And finally, we just always want to thank everybody. First of all, you didn't get to see her, but Natalie Nathan works with our area agency on aging in Southwest Idaho, and she was our behind the scenes Zoombie, making sure that everything worked the way it was supposed to work. Of course, we want to thank Marcy for giving her time and doing an excellent yoga flow practice with us. And finally, of course, I want to thank all of you, because we can't do this and wouldn't be doing this without you. So we thank you for your support. We hope that you will continue to join us for other seminars that we have for falls prevention. And all of the stuff that we talked about today, plus a bunch of other things, are available from our website, www.aging.idaho.gov/falls. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful, beautiful weekend as we move into the fall season. Thank you.